Hi, in this video I'd like to show a method for estimating how much money you will need to retire. The reason I did this is that a lot of articles that try and address this subject, they're too generic. They try to answer this question based on an average person, or they just use a rule of thumb or something like that. And what I found is that it's insufficient for modeling how much money you specifically need. And so I created this model that's very simple. It's not very robust, but it's something that I think will give you a good idea of how much money you'll actually need to retire. So there's a few steps to it, and the first one is to create a budget, or I should say simply a record of how much money you're spending today, and then you're going to adjust that for your estimates of when you retire. So I'm going to do this in Excel. You can use any spreadsheet program, but the first thing I'll do is simply create a budget. And so I would put my salary, and then I would list all of my monthly or yearly expenses. So for example, mortgage, groceries, and maybe utilities, travel, and so on and so forth. Okay, so maybe I'm making I'll do $65,000 a year divided by 12. And then maybe my mortgage is $1,100 a month. And my groceries are $700, utilities are $200, and travel is $200, and so on and so forth. Let me just format these into dollars. Okay, so let me just label these. I'll say now and retirement. Okay, so the first step is to list all of your expenses currently, and then to adjust those based on what you estimate in retirement. Now, the key to this is to use today's dollars. So don't try and estimate how much things will cost in the future. You just say, if I retired today, based on how much things cost today, what would I be spending? So some of these categories are going to change. Some of them will remain the same. So for example, if we made the assumption that when I retire, it's just me and my spouse, my kids are all off and self-sufficient, maybe I've paid the house off. So the mortgage isn't $1,100 a month. Maybe it's gone down. Maybe I still have like a $200 a month HOA fee, but that's gone down. Groceries are no longer $700 a month. Maybe they're only $200 a month. But utilities would stay the same because my house is still the same size and I still use it. Maybe travel has gone up. And so we're going to build this all the way out and ultimately have a budget for this. Now let me switch to another tab here because I filled this out already. So up at the top I had my yearly finances, and then I adjusted them for monthly down here. So in this case I put in $70,000 as a salary, an annual salary, and maybe I also have a side gig. So I'd list all of my income. Well, actually right now this isn't too important. What is important is this section right here, and that is my monthly expenses. So for example, I have mortgage property tax, groceries, and so forth. Okay, and then you can see I adjusted for retirement. Again, using today's dollars. So maybe my charitable donations go down a little bit. I'm no longer paying income tax. Again, maybe my mortgage is gone, but I still pay a little bit for a HOA fee or something. The property tax is the same. Groceries have gone down, and then, like I said, maybe travel and vacation has gone up, and I'm no longer contributing to a 401k. So the key here is that we'll get a number, which is the amount annually that I expect I would spend if I were retired today. And that number, in this case, is $33,732. Okay, the next step is to go into a new spreadsheet and to build up a little bit of a model. And the first step is to create some assumptions. And those are the retirement income. And that, let me drag this out a little bit. That's going to be the amount I estimated before. So I'll say equals this amount. And then I'm also going to put in here the retirement income year, or excuse me, I'll put, let me just call this the year basis. Okay, that is the year that I did this model, so 2022, because we're going to use that value when we come back and adjust for inflation. Okay, and then I'm also going to put I'll just put an inflation rate. We'll say 2% for now. I'll come back and talk about that in just a little bit. Okay, so those are my assumptions. And then the next step is I'm going to label these rows. I'm going to label year, age, I'll say tenure, that's how long I've worked, my salary, and then I'm going to list whatever investment or savings vehicles I have. So for example, savings account, and maybe I have a 401k, and then the last column here I'm going to label net worth. We'll just bold these for now. Okay, so this year is 2022 when I made it, and maybe at this age I'm 30 years old and I've already worked for 5 years. And I have a salary of, what did I say on the previous one? I can't remember. 65, maybe it was 70,000. We'll just put in 65,000 for now. And maybe I have, $2,000 in my savings account right now, and I've already been contributing a little bit to my 401k. I have $1,000 in there. Okay, and then next year, of course, will be 2023. And I'll be 31. We'll have been there 6 years. Okay, let me center these. The next thing I'm going to do is take these and drag them all the way out to, oh, we almost got there. I'm going to drag it out to 100, because that is the year I'm going to die, okay? You can make this to whatever age you want. I'm going all the way out to age 100, but you don't have to go quite that far. Now, I put tenure in here, but my tenure, I'm going to delete all of these because I'm going to say I'm going to retire at age 65. Okay. Okay, let's format these to be numbers. Oops, I put 600, put an extra 0 in there. Okay, so my salary is $65,000 a year. Okay, so now we're going to put a little table up here where we put two things for each of these columns. The first one is what I'll call rate, and the next one is contribution. And what these are is the rate of return that I think that I will get on these various investment vehicles and how much annually I'm going to contribute to them. So maybe my savings account gives me 0.5% APR, but I'm going to contribute to that 2% of my salary every year. That's the goal. Whereas my 401k maybe makes 5 or 6% a year, and I'm going to contribute, let's say 4% right now. Okay, you don't do that for net worth. I am going to put one in for salary because it's not the rate of return, but it's the rate that I think I'll get raises. So maybe I expect to get in my job a 3% annual raise. Okay, so now we're just going to put formulas in for here. So my salary is going to be 1 plus an absolute reference to that, times what it was the year before. Okay, so it went from $65,000 to $66,000 because I got a 3% raise, or almost $67,000. Okay, now my savings is going to be just a little bit different. It's going to be 1 plus the rate of return on what I had last year. So $2,000 earned 0.5%, plus I'm going to contribute to that 2% times my salary this year. Okay, and the same thing here, 1 plus this times what it was last year plus 4% of this year's salary. So that is basically, I'm keeping track of, I'm keeping track of what it was last year, and it's growing a little bit. Okay, so the net worth can just be the sum of whatever investments I have. So it's $3,000, and then the next year it went up to $7,000. Okay, and if I have done this correctly, I should be able to just grab these and drag them down, and we'll just stop right here. Uh-oh, I did something wrong. Hold on. That is... Okay, I did not make that an absolute reference, so we're going to go there. Let me drag that down. See if that fixed it. Okay, that looks right. Let's see if everything else looks correct. I believe so. Okay, so this is the important number. That is, in fact, I'm going to highlight that in green. That is my total net worth at retirement age. And now here is where the formula starts to, or the model starts to get magic, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to assume that this nest egg is the sum of all of my investment vehicles, and it returns something. So I probably have that either in one big account or I have it spread out, and we'll just say that's going to get an average of 4% per year, okay? So the next year after retirement, I'm going to say that's going to be 1 plus this amount times the previous year. In other words, when we go from this year to this year, we do earn an amount of interest on that, in this case 4%. Now let me add one quick thing in here. I'm going to put an if statement that says if this is greater than 0, then do all that. Otherwise, just do G49. And the reason I put that in is because I don't want it to apply if that number is 0 or is negative, okay? Okay, so far so good, but we don't just earn interest on that. Now we're living on this amount. So we have to subtract from this the amount that we're spending each year. And we estimated that to be $33,000, almost $34,000 a year in 2022 numbers or values. And so we're going to use a function called future value. Okay, this is built into Excel. You can look at the Excel help if you want more details on it, but it's basically going to give us the amount that $33,000 would be in 2058. So this is the key, is we're using this function to basically estimate how money has changed since we created this model. And the way this formula works is we're going to say the first argument is the rate. So that's the assumption, the assumed inflation rate, the number of periods, which is going to be the number of years. So the current year minus when we started this whole exercise. And then the next thing is the annual payments, which in this case is 0. And then the last thing is the lump sum, which is a negative value. And it is the 33,000. Okay. Okay, hopefully I got all of my formulas correct. So now you can see it actually went down because we did earn 4%, but we subtracted out our living expense, this amount up here, okay? And so we're going to drag this all the way down to age 100 and see what happens. You can see our nest egg does not last very long. It only lasted until I was 72, and then it went negative, and that means that I ran out of money. And obviously all these numbers mean that I'm negative. So what this model is telling me is that based on this current model, I'm not saving enough for retirement. Having $456,000 at age 65 is not enough. And so I need to change some things. I need to change the anticipated rate of return on some of these investment vehicles, or my contribution rate. Or I could even add another column, like maybe I could put maybe my company has an employee stock purchase plan, and that earns, maybe my company's a little better than this 401k, and I get 6%, and I'm going to contribute maybe 5% of that or something like that. And then I would simply take these formulas over here and put them in. Let me jump to a another tab here where I have this more filled out and completed, but it's the same thing just to orient you. Here's my assumptions. It's the retirement income, the year basis, and the inflation rate, the assumed rate, and then I have my rate and contribution for each of these things. And I've added a few more columns. So I've added, I'm going to buy some stock every year, and I'm also going to participate in the employee stock purchase plan. I'm going to put 8% in there, and I'm going to put 8% into my 401k and 4% into an IRA. But you can see I didn't start all of those at year when I did this. Maybe I haven't started doing stock until I was 35, and here I didn't start my IRA until I was 41. And the thing about this model is that you can go down and adjust it in any given year. So maybe I've been using this model for a long time. Now I'm 45, and I can go in there and update these, and it will update everything in the future. So maybe I don't have 17,000, I only have 5,000, okay? And then I can delete everything above it. And it will simply take that value, and all the formulas are based on it, and they will update. And so every year you can go in and you can just type in a number for these to update what they actually are, and it will update your net worth, and it will just keep track. Basically you can recalibrate every year. So now let's see what happens. So now, since I've added and been more aggressive on my savings in various areas, you can see I have a lot more saved at retirement. I have $1.7 million, a little bit more than that. And if I scroll down, the key here is that money lasts. I only went to age 99 here. But you can see that money lasts all the way up until age 99. So this model says, thumbs up, I'm saving enough here. So all it does is it gives you a way of going through each year and updating your current net worth in these different areas. So you can make this model once in year 2022 and then update it every year. So years later in 2040, you go through and you say my salary actually is higher. I'm making $120,000 a year, and savings is maybe a little less. We put some of it into the house. So it's $10,000, and maybe my stock purchase plan is more or something. You can update those and see how it affects your. Oh, it went up there, so you can see that it would have an effect on your total net worth in there. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Again, agreed, it's simplistic. If you wanted to make it more robust, you could put a rate and a contribution each year, next to these, or you could make a more robust model. But what I found is that it's pretty good for just estimating and then updating each year. And the key to it and what the value of it is that you get a number that you're going to estimate you'll have in net worth, and based on this formula, whether it's enough to last you the rest of your life. So hopefully this is helpful. Give me feedback. Let me know if this is actually a helpful model, if there's errors in it or anything like that.